In the heart of Nigeria, many families share a common struggle. For the Lawal family, this meal will become the moment of unimaginable tragedy. Their young son, Junior, collapsed unexpectedly and was rushed to the nearest hospital.
Let's turn to Nigeria, where 1 million people in the country are subjected to a state of emergency mode due to acute food.
Unfortunately, child death due to malnutrition is it's not uncommon in Nigeria, because of the widespread food insecurity and inadequate access to nutritious meals. According to recent data by UNICEF, it places Nigeria as one of the highest rates of child malnutrition in the world. As a matter of fact, 2.5 million children suffer from severe acute malnutrition in Nigeria, of which about 450,000 deaths are recorded annually. So it's really a sad situation.
Emmanuela Ezeme, a dedicated nutritionist, highlights the critical link between diet and health.
Food insecurity is something that they need to really spread awareness about. So aside the people that are aware that they are undergoing food insecurity, we have a large number that is not even aware that they are undergoing food insecurity entirely. And they are mostly located in the big cities like Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt. You're in a city where you don't have access to fresh foods, or you have limited access to fresh supplies, and you're stuck with a certain variety of food. One of the major things that food insecurity causes for individuals and community is poor quality of diet. So many people in big cities, outside of the people in the rural areas, eat a specific set of meal or day in and day out. So, and this is very, very crucial because of the synergistic nature of micro and macronutrients. They need to be combined together in order for our physiological well-being. So if this is happening, it pushes people to undergo malnutrition and tend towards gaining weight and obesity, which at the long run is going to cause other health challenges.
Food insecurity, it negatively impacts an individual's health and well-being, especially in children, right? It increases their susceptibility to diseases, stunted physical and, cognitive development, and all-round weakened immune system. Studies have actually shown that child malnutrition contributes to about 45% of child deaths in Nigeria.
People that are actually hungry are one, and then you have the people that are eating diets that are not a proper diet for you to have. You're also hungry because you're lacking in deficiencies, and this affects mostly infants and young people, especially kids below the age of 5. We have that a lot in the north, and once there is nutrition deficiency for kids, it impairs them in so many ways. Their developmental stages, their mental well-being. Children in a food-secure environment tend to do better than those that are in a situation or in an environment that they're dealing with food insecurity. So it impairs their mental health, it impairs their physical ability to run around and carry out their daily activities. And then we'll talk about the long-term effects. So long-term effects, we're starting to see it now. It is increasing every single day. We're talking about lifestyle ailments. So 4 out of the 10 main things that are causing deaths so far, 4 of the ailments are caused by lifestyle diets. And if something is not done about that, it's going to be ravaging more people. So today we see people that are 18 and they have diabetes. We have people that are 20 and they're dealing with their cholesterol because it has to do with the diet. Before we even go forward to talking about deficiencies, so many people are dealing with deficiencies from vitamin A, iron, calcium, and those things we can only get them from the food that we eat. And fresh produce, they are the ones that give us these nutrients that keep our body going. So you have like 19 million pregnant women every year that are suffering from vitamin A deficiency, and you can only get that from your food, not supplements and not the processed products that we are all pushed to buy because the other ones are not available.
Samson Ogbole, a visionary farmer and the founder of Soilless Farm Lab, believes innovation in agriculture is key to combating this crisis.
There are a lot of hungry people out there, and it would only get worse. Not just because of the subsidy removal, that is just an icing on the cake, but we have to look at the impact of climate change. The rain is not coming as at when due, or some people are having too much rain. This is an issue in itself. And what is going to happen, again, it's kind of, so it's going to look like something where there is food and people forget that there is food insecurity. By that I mean the current administration just opened the borders. With the borders open, there will be food in the market but not produced by us. And at the end of the day, people will think, oh, the food issue has been solved. But the reality is we become slaves to the countries that are feeding us. So we will have food, but we are slaves. So it's a question of, when we say food insecurity, are we talking about food on the table or food on the table produced by us?
Micheal Sunbola, through the Lagos Food Bank initiative, is on the front line of the battle against hunger, ensuring that no one is left behind.
I think our food system is really very much vulnerable to a whole lot of shocks and stresses that's anything happening locally, internationally is affecting our food system. You know, there's a war in Ukraine, Russia is affecting our food system. There's banditry is affecting our food system. There is insecurity, you know, flooding, all kinds of issues makes our food system very much vulnerable to these problems.
At Mile 12 International Market, the heart of Nigeria's food trade, market women and food truck drivers offer a ground-level perspective on the daily challenges of food distribution.
The farmers are using fertilizer to grow their yields of tomato. You understand? And now fertilizer cost also. Everything costs and so on. Even the tractor that we are using to tillage or something like this, is everything costs. They are using power, you understand? So that is why everything costs.
A lot of things offer. Inú ẹ̀ ni àwọn owó tá a máa ń ná lójú ọ̀nà, bí owó ọlọ́pàá, bí owó ìwé tó ń já fún wa, ìwé local government, ìkọ̀ọ̀kan báyẹn. So gbogbo àwọn nǹkan tó ń fa nìyẹn. Àníkí tẹ bá tún jókòó náà àwọn owó tẹ máa ná nínú ọjà kọ̀ọ̀kan, ìkọ̀ọ̀kan báyẹn tó ń gbà, so gbogbo ẹ̀ náà ń fà. Irú báyẹn kó wáyé nísìnyí, kò ṣe ní ọjà rẹ̀ nìkan la máa já sí. A lè lọ tó ní ọjà mẹ́ta mẹ́rin la máa já sí. So gbogbo àwọn nǹkan yẹn náà ń fà. Epo táwọn náà máa lò kó tó di pé a máa já ẹrù yẹn, epo náà wọ́n, gbogbo ẹ̀ wọ́n. Kó tó di pé a máa já ẹrù yẹn nísìnyí, a wà ní Mile 12 nísìnyí, a tún lọ Mushin, a máa lọ Ọ̀kọ̀tún, ẹ̀wọ̀ àwọn strength yẹn tá a máa go through. Kò sínú ọjà la máa dé, táàdẹ̀ ní sanwó gáràjì. Inú ọjà kọ̀ọ̀kan náà máa gbówó náà wá pé owó gáràjì gba wọ inú ọjà. So gba àwọn nǹkan yẹn náà nísìnyí, lórí expensive owó táwọn náà máa gbà làwọn náà máa ṣí ọjà yẹn lé.
Fúrúùtù là ń tà, gbogbo ọjà yìí kò ju 300, méjì 500 lọ, but ẹyọ kọ̀ọ̀kan táǹtàǹsì 800, 1000. Nǹkan tí wọ́n jù tá a bá dẹ̀ lọ sọ́jà pé àwọn ọjà tá à ń ra yìí ó ti wọ́n jù, àwọn yẹn náà tún complain pé ẹjọ́ àwọn kọ́ o. Táwọn bá gbé wá gan, ó níye owó mọ́tò táwọn ń san kó tó di pé ó dọ̀dọ̀ tiwa náà, táwa náà tún rà lọ́wọ́ wọn. Gbogbo àwọn tó ń rajà yìí náà lọ́wọ́ wa, àwọn náà ń complain.
Àfọwọ́lé lórí ju ọjà tabára dọ́sìn ní 15,000 tó ti bá wá 1-2 wà táà náà bá 100 náà àtàkò sí pọ̀ jù.
I'm a customer to them. Last week, it gets certain amount that we bought rice. The way something is going up, we are not happy. And when we are voting for these people, they said that we are going to make us happy. But the way things are going on now, people are not happy with them.
Akwa ka anyị si wee gote o. Amaghịzi m ihe mere ọwụ nọọ fuelu adị ọnụ o. Ọ bụ nọọ gịnị mezi. Akwere m nwata mgbe anyị na-elefu ihe ndị anụ ebe 6,000 naira. Betikita 7,500. All this market. One ka anyị na-elebu evu. Ama m ka ihe mere ka this fuel scarcity die. Call nego ado or changing of money. Because he sees and you water here no one was by him here no ego de so I can need you see everything maybe see. I feel do is equal where's here any need in galon onye bia ho opo onye bia ho opo. Let's say onye jarik desi ebike guria. I won't na shop okay guria. Ozurizie eba I will come down and kill koji bido. Ana gani so here na nju afia ama me hekpatadia because anya fu ji afia egote. Ogizizi amam all this ya no amam otu na ha ime shop amam ka afia anya na betikita nwezi kwanya ani fledo.
The practice that we have is something that ensures you can produce year round. So as long as I am following the protocol, by default I will produce year round. It's not dependent on climate, on weather, on the environment. So what that simply means is food production is year round. So regardless of what the season is saying, what the time is saying, what the weather is saying, it doesn't matter, we can plant and we can harvest.
The first thing is awareness. I feel a lot of people are not aware of how ravaging food insecurity is to our nation at the moment. If you walk into a room now and say food insecurity, a lot of people will just be looking at you like, But it is a major topic that needs to be spoken about. So people need to be educated. People need to know that we need to do something about this. And the education has to include all, and especially the young people. The reason why I say the young people is because they are the future stakeholders of our food system. If they are educated to advocate for better food, then we know that change is going to come in due time.
Some of the long-term consequences of hunger and malnutrition, they include stunted growth, developmental delays in a child, right? A weakened immune system, and individuals that suffer from long-term hunger-related illnesses can actually be at a risk of, chronic illnesses like diabetes and other cardiovascular conditions. As a matter of fact, children who suffer from malnutrition, they tend to, struggle with health challenges, over the course of their adult life, and generally they have like they have a reduced economic productivity in adulthood. Because healthcare providers play a very crucial role when it comes to, addressing food insecurity, by advocating for better access to nutritious meals, by conducting screening for malnutrition, to figure out people that are, that have those visible signs and be able to curtail those signs and symptoms at the early stages. So that could be really, really important. And also, they could help by, referring patients to support services. Additionally, health practitioners, they play a very vital role in educating families, about proper nutrition practices and importance of breastfeeding, especially in the first 1,000 days of life for baby.
We are begging, and we are begging them to let everything to come down.
Kò sí control price in Nigeria. Never to become kò sí control price.
Where the government look Nigerian people where they not get money to buy this. Some of them they not get money to buy food to eat. So make government help us like that, Abi.
If government helps to reduce the price or to share fertilizers or something like, to help to the farmers, inshallah everything will come down, inshallah.
The government has a massive role to play because they have bigger capacity, right? We as non-profit organizations, we are just scratching the surface. We are just reaching our own space. So in terms of policy, they can do a whole lot. If you look at the entire legal framework, there's no single law, that addresses food waste, right? And even the NAFDAC Act, there's no single provision in that act that addresses how food can be redirected to, vulnerable people. So date labeling that doesn't address safety, probably quality, food are being wasted, right? Other climes, they've moved far ahead of us, in this regard, looking at policies. There is a Good Samaritan Act that kind of protects donors from liability, you see a number of organizations don't want to donate because they're afraid that if I donate food that is about 3 months to go to the expiry date, they might sue me or something happens. There's no law that protects them. In other climes, there are laws that protect them because this only addresses safety and not quality. Quality and not safety. So the thing is that policies can, food donation laws, and then incentives, tax incentives. What incentives do you give to non-profits that are, these have just been a soul journey for most non-profits. There's no government support. Everything is being done. Other clients, government give grants. If you cannot give grants, then give an enabling environment. Allow individuals, keep them incentives to support non-profit organizations. Let them have tax return. Even companies, let them be able to claim some of these incentives during their tax listing. So as policies, basically just give an enabling environment for non-profit organizations to thrive, and then of course policies that also allow farmers to have access to funds to grow more food that can feed our teeming population.
Government policies can be further enhanced by implementing strategies to improve food distribution and production in Nigeria, and to also provide adequate facilities for healthcare infrastructure. Additionally, targeted programs such as the school feeding program and the cash transfer scheme can also be good tools to alleviate food insecurity in Nigeria.
The recent government brought out a plan, state of emergency for food insecurity, with their 12 points. The 12 points are all amazing, but I feel we need to do something about the violent attacks. People need to be able to go back to their farmlands. If the banditry going on in the northeast, and the separatist agitations going on in the southeast, almost all the geopolitical zones in Nigeria now is going through some level of conflict. And we have farm headers attacking farmlands. They need to put some level of security and a stop to these insurgents, because if they don't do that, it is difficult for farmers to want to go back to their farmlands to farm. So those that even had farming as their occupation needs to feel safe to go back to what they used to do. Then we can now say, okay, we want to increase storage facility, we want to release fertilizers to them. Somebody needs to be in the farming already before we're releasing all of those things. So government needs to do something about the insurgents. Then we can start to implement all of those 12 points that they came up with, the releasing of fertilizer, the increasing of warehousing, logistics for distribution, provision of concessionary funds for farmers. All of those things are key points, but I believe that putting a stop or putting security for the farmers is pretty vital right now in our nation. Once that is sorted, a lot of people would go back to their farmlands, and it will really help to reduce food insecurity.
So I think what we need to agree first is a national dialogue to ask ourselves, what do we really want to use agriculture for? Because right now we are developing policies that are scattered because there is no focus. I would explain. For me, I see agriculture as a tool. Agriculture has what it should be used for. It needs to be clearly defined. Agriculture basically has three purposes. One, either we use it for food security, or for income, or for jobs. There is a crop to feed, and there is a crop for money. But what if I don't decide what I want? If we go back to the 40s, the early 30s, the early 40s, in the US, they had the kind of agriculture we have today. But when, as a country, they decided they were going to use agric for income, automatically there were crops they did not focus on anymore, because those crops do not bring money. You realize they started working to ensure that they are making so much per square meter. They pushed to ensure that they are developing tools that will help them make more money in agric. But first, they had to decide, what do we want to use agric for? So before we start writing out policies, we need to ask ourselves as a country, what do we want to use agric for first? Number two, you need to sit down with practicing farmers, not portfolio farmers because they can speak good English so they are farmers. No. It's okay to work with guys that can't speak English but they understand what they are doing. Because many a time you realize that government throws in interventions that farmers do not want. I remember a while back I was in a discussion, I think NIMET was there, and they were asking local farmers. They gave them about 10 things that they needed, and they were all shocked that money came as number 8 or 9 on their list. But when you ask the government what do farmers need, they say money. But there are many other things that they need that are much more important than money. I'll give you an example. As a soilless farmer, one of the things that we use is what we call soluble ammonium nitrate, or at times we use calcium nitrate. But one of the governments in this country went ahead and banned the importation of these nutrients, saying that they can produce fertilizer locally. Unfortunately, what they produce locally is meant for soil and not soilless. So you have uninformed policy. It looks good on paper, it looks good to say we are producing, but you did not ask the real farmers, what do you really need? So there is a need to have an interaction with farmers to tell you, this is our process, this is what we do, this is where the issues are. On the flip side, farmers, you need to also take time to put down data. It is not enough to say, when we tried it last year. No. Have data that can be used, because when you don't have data, these politicians are forced to go abroad, look for one cowbell with data and come and try and implement it here. They forget that the environment is different, our greed is different, our selfishness is different, and our weather is different. So there is a lot we need to put in place first before we start saying we are writing policies and all of that.
Been a whole lot of success stories. The fact that we are able to meet the needs of basic needs, long-term needs, but the one that really comes to mind that kind of that can really relate with is a mother that of course died during childbirth, and the grandmother took the responsibility of the child that of course died, and because the grandmother didn't have means of income, the baby became malnourished, and she got the help she needed through the clinic, and they referred her to the food bank. Within 2 months, dietitians and nutritionists were able to reach out to this baby. She became more nourished and gained weight, and the mother was kind of concerned, like, oh, am I going to lose this baby the way I lost the mother, right? But the intervention came in timely, and she was referred to the food bank. And the baby, of course, today is much healthier and happy, and of course would grow up to be very productive as well.
So the business Fresh County does not just make juices for people. The building cannot be just for making juices. Yeah, so we go into so many other things, and basically because it's a social enterprise, so we go to the north. We source strawberries from the north. Strawberries in Lagos here is outrageously expensive because most of them are imported. Meanwhile, they are growing in Nigeria here. But guess what? To transport them all the way from Jos to this place, in the process of that transportation, you're going to lose so many of them. So what we do is we build blast freezer plants over there. So we blast freeze strawberries, and then we move them down either by air or by cold trucks. So this helps us along the line that all throughout the year till December, we have strawberry, and it is fresh. It can be used. People can pick it up and still use them in their homes. So that is the area I feel the government and private sectors should actually start to look into. We can dehydrate fruits. We can freeze them. We can bring in machines that can turn that fruit in such a way that it can be moved from one location to the other to serve a higher populated state or area from the place where it is farmed. To bridge a gap between when strawberry is scarce, you actually tend to still get strawberry, and not just get strawberry, but get it in a good state. I'm just using strawberry as an example because that is not the only one. So private sectors and government should invest in things like this.
Families and communities have a crucial role to play also in mitigating the effects of food insecurity, by prioritizing good nutritional food choices, by supporting local food initiative, and also advocating for policy changes that could address the underlying cause of food insecurity in Nigeria. Then additionally, proper hygiene and sanitation can also be very, very, very important in mitigating the effects of food insecurity.
There's a saying in Yoruba that I'm saying it, I'll speak it in English, that once hunger is eliminated from the poverty chain, what is left to be dealt with is very small. So we are addressing the problem of hunger in using several approaches, dimensions to it, right? So we are interested in meeting short-term needs and also long-term needs, right? Like the program we had today addresses short-term needs. 1 month, 2 weeks, the beneficiaries are done with the food. But long-term, we kind of empower beneficiaries to learn how to grow food at their backyard, to fend for themselves, sell part of this food and also earn some income, right? It's a backyard farming program. We call it family farming, where we've trained several women and also set them up to, to have a backyard farm and then cultivate food, vegetable, chicken, snail, and all of that for them to be able to fend for themselves. So that's the form of empowerment. We have a job placement program where we marry the skills of our beneficiaries with available job opportunities that can make them also fend for themselves and their families, like drivers, like cleaners, like caterers, a whole lot of them. All these women you see, they have skills. So we build CVs for them and also advertise the skills across our partners.
First step is to first of all start planting. Planting is not only for farmers. Every small space you have in your vicinity or your compound, make good use of that. Growing up, we all had, for those that grew up in rural areas, you would have your small garden in your house. You can go pluck little scent leaf, pepper that you can use to make food. We need to bring that back, because even in cities, the small spaces that you have soil in your compound, make good use of it. And some of these things you don't need to do so much. If you wash out pepper from the water and you just pour the water with the seeds, that pepper is going to grow. But we need to know that we can also do that. Everything must not be bought. We should also start to plant things individually. Communities, individuals, in your different spaces, in your different offices or positions that you hold, you have to speak up about the food. You have to speak up about the quality of your diet. Stop sometimes and take into account, evaluate what you eat in a week and just check, is my diet optimal? Do I need to do something about it? Because so many people are dealing with food insecurity, facing the challenges of food insecurity without knowing that you're facing that. So we all have to speak up in our various places. It doesn't matter if you're into carpentry, it doesn't matter if you're into dancing. One thing we all have in common is food. And because we all have that in common, we must get it right. Food is responsible for the well-being of our overall body. The best thing that we can do for ourselves is to give ourselves the right food and just the right amount so that we can function better in whatever field that we find ourselves in. So speaking up is one thing, and planting is another thing.
There is an urgent need to address food insecurity in Nigeria. And I believe it is a collaborative effort by everybody. At all levels, all hands must be on deck. Together we can advocate for policy changes that would help to eradicate food insecurity in Nigeria. Together we can create a future where no child or family experiences hunger. We can create a world where every individual has the opportunity to thrive.
Our goal is to, of course, give access, to be a leading organization that gives access to, nutritious and sufficient food for all. And one of the ways we want to do that is, of course, to expand our reach. If you look at our society, we started as the first indigenous food bank, and we want to spread this intervention. Like I said, our food system, we want it to be inclusive, where vulnerable people are carried along, right? So we want to spread this across several other states, right? Working with the government of different states to expand backyard farm, also start up a food bank. So we're looking at expanding to Kano, Abuja, and the rest of it. And all of these are in the pipeline, of course. And we are working with other partners, to about 150 of partners, non-profit organizations that are helping us reach this goal across the country. So that's our goal. We want to make more people have, especially vulnerable people, make them have more access to sufficient and nutritious food.
So number one, technology or strategy I've employed is the use of climate smart method of farming, ensuring the whole use of soilless farming, greenhouse farming. That is on one part. On the other part, we have also built our own cold storage to ensure that we are not forced to sell because the produce are ready. We can store till the market is ready. Then of course, we have our cold van to ensure that the quality that leaves the farm is the quality that gets to the plate. Then much more than that, we are not producing because we can produce, we are producing because the market asked for it. So unlike the traditional farmer that just produces because it is rainy season, we only produce when there is a market willing to pay for it. There is an agreement to ensure that we do not have a whole lot of post-harvest waste. Much more than that, on the farm, in a couple of weeks, we'll start installing the sensors to ensure that we can monitor the plants to their nitty-gritty, to ensure that we are providing the plants per time what they need, and if something is wrong, they can quickly fix it before the plant is dead.
First is you must have passion for what you're doing. You must have the staying power and grit to be able to solve the problem, right? And then we must also understand that we can't solve the entire problem. It can be overwhelming. So the little you can do in your space that doesn't get you burdened and overwhelmed, right? Do it. And the truth is that you alone cannot solve all the problem. And secondly and thirdly, then just put a system in place and let it not be something that is just charitable, but impact is actually communicated and measured. So that would be my advice for anybody interested in starting a food bank. Have passion for it, have grit, put a system in place to address it, and then remember that you can't solve all the problem alone.
Interested in promoting food security, what I will tell you first is focus on running a business. Agriculture is not about what I inherited from my parents. Focus about running a business. That is what I would say. Why am I saying that? If your business is not sustainable, the people that you want to feed will still die of hunger. So focus on running a business. Think of what a regular business will do. Try and implement everything in your business. Once you can run a sustainable, profitable business, by default, your business will feed people. So you can then achieve food security.
Nigeria has the potential to feed its people, but the journey to food security requires collective efforts, innovation, and unwavering commitment. In memory of those lost to hunger and in honor of those fighting for change, we must come together to break hunger's grip and ensure healthier, more secure future for all Nigerians. Join us in this fight. Together, we can make a difference.